why. Anyhow, let's get back to something more serious. On April 1st, I'm going to talk about masking just quickly. Laredo, the city of Laredo, implemented that all persons must wear masks. And that's the people in the store, the people going into the store, everywhere you go in public, you must wear it. And now the County of Riverside has implemented the same order through its health department. So there you go. You must do that. All right. Now, what is all this about? Are we, is it all that bad? Is somebody making it up? So we got a emergency room nurse in Detroit. She's writing from Sinai Grace Hospital in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm just going to start out reading some of this. Last night at work was by far the worst night I've ever had as a nurse. People, please, I'm begging you, follow the quarantine instructions. Don't think of yourselves being stuck at home. Instead, think of it as being safe at home. It may help change your attitude to help you tolerate being home. Last night in the ER, there were 6 patients that passed away who won't be going back to their loved ones. One of those patients, of those 6 patients, 3 of them were mine. 2 of the 3, I had just gone into the rooms, took vitals, they were good. Nothing about their vital signs gave me the impression that they were about to crash. One patient even had thrown their shoe at the closed glass door to get our attention. This person wanted to make sure the oxygen mask was on right and to let us know they'd dropped their call light on the floor. So I picked up the call light, I gave it back to them, and reassured them their vitals are fine, and they said they didn't have any pain, they were comfortable and just waiting for a bed assignment. Less than 30 minutes later, the monitor started alarming, and her and another RN and a RPT, respiratory therapist, ran into the room. The doctor arrived a few seconds later, and his patients had coded. That's a term for, they're not going to make it, I guess, or they were in very serious trouble. And there was nothing they could do to bring that person back to life. And she says she's still having a difficult time wrapping her head around the fact that she was talking to her patient and then less than 30 minutes later, the patient was dead. And as the doctor was pronouncing the time of death, they had to quickly run to another room because another coworker's patient suddenly took the same turn. And they were able to stabilize that patient, but they're not sure for how long. Anyhow, the ER is overcrowded with patients. And last night she was in the ICU section of the ER with 2 other nurses. Each of them had 6 to 9 patients at a time, with most of them on ventilators. And as soon as one patient either got admitted or went upstairs or expired, an EVS is in there cleaning the rooms for, it takes 15 minutes to get a room ready for a new patient. They roll in another one, and here they are, and sicker than the patient before them. And she says last night it nearly broke her. Right? She struggled internally to compartmentalize the fact that she lost 3 patients within the first 8 hours of her 12-hour shift. And she says, my heart aches for the patients and their family, more so since no visitors are allowed, and their family members are calling to check up on them, and we're telling them how their treatments are going, and they're vital and stable, and the loved ones are out there. They check into the hospital, they get taken away in an ambulance, or they get checked in. You can't go into the hospital, you can't see them. And she says, to call, the family calls and says, how's everything? She says, fine, stables are fine. And then later, she's got to call and say, we don't know what happened. They just took a turn for the worse and they passed away and your loved one's gone. So she says, if you're still reading all this, please take this quarantine seriously. And she's on the front lines and she can't stress enough how bad it has gotten. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. So there's your plea from an emergency room nurse at Sinai Grace Hospital in Detroit, Michigan, telling you what's going on. And this is going on at ERs all over the country. And it's been going on in Italy. You got the same stories that came out of Italy last week. And you can see this is the pattern. You could take this story, this account, and see the same account from nurses in the ER rooms and doctors in China, back in January and February. You can see it now in Detroit. It's coming to New York. And it's called flattening the curve. We've heard that. Now I'm going to recommend a guy, Juan Brown. He calls himself the Blanco Lirio channel on YouTube. And he's got a video out right now, his most recent one, that's detailing all of this about the curve and what they see. And it's actually given us a really good look ahead of where we're going. And we're going to take a quick look at that when we get back. This is Russ Betts on iHub Radio.